At a young age, Kathy joined the struggle for liberation. Risking his freedom for the rights of all South Africans, he ultimately faced the death penalty alongside Nelson Mandela and Walter Sisulu. They were given life at hard labor and sent to Robben Island.
Although we were sentenced to life imprisonment, and for political prisoners, life meant life.
After 26 years, Kathy and his comrades walked free, infusing the struggle with new hope.
Much more needs to be done on Palestine. Very, very much more. I know the ANC has passed resolutions at conferences and so forth, but much more needs to be done of the solidarity that we enjoyed from the international community, especially from the Palestinian people, who themselves were not yet free, but the solidarity was there. There was a formal alliance between the PLO, the ANC, and Frelimo. Again, that's a thing that's not talked of today. So what I'm saying is that we ourselves are guilty of not doing enough about the Palestinian struggle. But we should also be doing much more. That we in South Africa cannot be free until the Palestinians are free.
Yeah.
Friends and comrades, I am honored to be delivering this address. The Palestinian struggle for freedom is extremely close to me. This struggle for freedom and self-determination was important to and supported by various South African liberation organizations, including the party to which I belong, the African National Congress. I hereby make my humble contribution to this conference. We always saw the plight and struggle of the Palestinians as mirroring our own struggle during the dark days of apartheid. We viewed our Palestinian comrades as sisters and brothers involved in the same business of struggling for justice in an attempt to create a more humane and equal world where the chauvinism and inequality based on race, ethnicity, language, gender, religion, or any other constructed identity is firmly uprooted. It is because of this intimate link between our struggles that my dear friend and former President of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Nelson Mandela, stated that the freedom of the South Africans is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. Israel has militarily occupied the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, since 1967. And technically, while its occupation of Gaza may have ended, it still maintains a de facto occupation of the territory through its brutal blockade. The occupation is illegal under international law, and the settlement enterprise is not only illegal, but a conspicuous indication by the Israeli state of its complete disregard for the rights and humanity of Palestinians. Palestinians live under a military system that continues to perpetuate violence against Palestinians, indignity towards Palestinian life and culture, and the destruction of Palestinian society. Despite an international consensus that the occupation is illegal, Israel belligerently continues its illegal conduct. There is no intention on the part of Israel to meaningfully and sincerely engage in negotiations to end the inhumane and unjust occupation. The facts suggest that Israel in fact opposes any such efforts. The experience of Palestinians and the occupation in many ways is similar to the experience of black South Africans under apartheid. However, in some ways the violence of Israeli occupation is even worse than that South Africans had to contend with. It has become commonplace to consider the resistance of some people as more noble, even when such resistance is nothing but the expansion of a colonial enterprise and racism. Israelis are presented as victims of error, and their fight to preserve an inherently racist and unjust political social system is considered to be legitimate, while Palestinians resisting the occupation are considered to be purveyors of unjustified radicalism. As South Africans who fought hard in the liberation struggle for our own country, we know too well that such labels conducted by the enemies of justice and peace are only meant to demean and delegitimize a just and valid struggle for freedom and liberation, while in truth, such accusations are patently false. The same is true for the Palestinian struggle. More recently, the important non-violent action embraced by Palestinian activists and their international allies is the campaign of boycott, sanctions and divestment, BDS, aimed at Israel, inspired and modeled after a similar campaign that helped to end South Africa's apartheid regime. It is important to note that South Africa's apartheid regime was a close ally of the United States and Israel, among others. Israel played an important role in attempts to contravene the boycott against apartheid South Africa, and also supplied South Africa at the time with military technology and weapons. Currently, there is a campaign by Israel and its allies to persuade others that the non-violent boycott strategy is illegitimate and amounts to anti-Semitism, despite numerous morally upstanding Jews being part of the movement. In doing so, a tremendous effort seems to be underway to convince institutions to suppress BDS activism. Such views are outrageous. It is like characterizing the boycott against apartheid South Africa as racist towards white people. The failure in logic regarding Israel's claim is clear. The effect of this suppression is to neutralize Palestinians and their allies, to effectively do nothing by branding such non-violent campaigns to end illegal Israeli occupation as anti-Semitism. It is more important now than ever that effective international solidarity is galvanized to support such campaigns, to place pressure on Israel to comply with international law, end its illegal occupation, and respect the human rights of Palestinians. Without effective international solidarity and the commitment of our friends, comrades and allies, it is very probable that it may have taken much longer for the South African apartheid regime to fall. It is not possible for people of conscience, for people who are committed to the progressive values of justice, equality, peace and dignity and freedom, to support or condone Israelis' actions of ethnic cleansing, violence, occupation, discrimination, racism, and the unjustified incarceration of Palestinians. The path may look bleak, but in our darkest days in South Africa, we always had the hope that humanity will prevail. Palestinians and their allies should stand firm in their claim for freedom and justice. As South Africans, we stand in solidarity with our Palestinian sisters and brothers in their struggle for liberation and justice. I am hopeful that with determination and commitment, Palestinians will soon enjoy the freedom that is so important for any human life to live in peace and dignity and flourish. As some may be aware, I was sentenced during the Rivonia trial with 8 accused to life imprisonment with hard labor. My fellow comrades and dear friends included Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Govan Mbeki, Raymond Klaber, Elias Motsoaledi, Andrew Mlangeni, and Jewish anti-apartheid activist Dennis Goldberg. I eventually spent 26 years and 3 months in prison, 18 of which were on the infamous Robben Island. We had it hard, myself, Nelson Mandela, and others, but I am convinced that the Palestinian political prisoners under Israel's apartheid practices have it worse. With that said, I warmly welcome the fact that Marwan Barghouti, his fellow Palestinian political prisoners from all political parties and across the spectrum, as well as prisoner support organizations, are part of this conference and in support of the non-violent BDS campaign. In particular, we from South Africa welcome the recent history that has been achieved after several years, a year-long BDS campaign with G4S security announcing its withdrawal from Israel. It's not a matter of whether BDS will work. It seems to be already working despite the Israeli repression in Palestine, in Israel and beyond. Let's hold Israel accountable for the freedom of both the Palestinians and Israelis, just as the freedom of South Africa meant the freedom of both black and white. On a final note, I mentioned Dennis Goldberg as a fellow prisoner sentenced during the treason trial together with Mandela, myself, and others. Jewish icons like Dennis Goldberg, as Ruth Slovo, as well as other activists should be commended for standing up within their communities and speaking up against Israeli apartheid and occupation. They remind us so much of those brave members of the white community during the 1980s who stood firm, such as Ruth Slovo, Joe Slovo, Bram Fisher, during the 1980s, who stood up from their communities to join the struggle for a free South Africa. I have visited Palestine in recent years and seen the brutal apartheid policies and illegal occupation. I hope to visit again sometime soon and see it free of discrimination and apartheid. I hope to witness in my lifetime and yours a free Palestine. I wish this very important conference all the very best in its deliberations. Mandela.